Apple is making the same iPhone one more time. From the iPhone 13 to the iPhone 14, there is no significant difference between them. They are almost identical. Yet the $2 trillion company still makes more money than Samsung and Xiaomi combined, making almost $200 billion a year and selling over 2 billion iPhones in a model whose origins date back to 1983. Almost 40 years ago, despite the fact that it has released over 33 models that many people claim look the same. This $2 trillion company has managed to keep its users hooked on a revolutionary device. So how does Apple make so much money with little innovation and release nearly the same product from the iPhone 13 to the iPhone 14? And how can it sell more than every other major brand combined? Let's look at iPhone's impressive legacy, which has helped a $2 trillion company thrive. The first ever iPhone was introduced in 2007, almost 15 years ago. And after several complaints about models being all the same, the iPhone is turning to another strategy in order to take other brands out of the business. The main differences between the iPhone 13 and 14 are upgrades like SOS, emergency satellite connectivity, crash detection, and enhancements to low-light photography. There are still numerous features that the iPhone 13 shares with these upgrades. This applies to the A15 Bionic processor, the display, apart from the larger iPhone 14 Plus variant, and the general aesthetic. With iOS 16, all of Apple's new software features like the lock screen display will be added to the iPhone 13. Overall, it doesn't appear that the iPhone 14 significantly outperforms the iPhone 13 either. Yet, Apple has set its eyes on building a whole decade-long culture that doesn't zoom in on the details of their flagship releases, but into the overall capacity to make you feel like you're part of something bigger. And it earns billions while doing that. Apple is currently selling so many iPhones because it has cemented an incomparable trademark. You can see it back in 2011 when Android phones were all over the place. 93 different models released that year, whereas the iPhone still chillin' with its flagship iPhone 4S. There was only one model. While Android was making bigger and bigger screens to follow the trend, the Galaxy Nexus had an impressive 4.65-inch display, while the iPhone 4S was only 3.5 inches and looked really tiny. Because Android completely outsold the iPhone during those years, it appeared that the iPhone could follow in the footsteps of BlackBerry and disappear. Every other phone was bigger and cheaper than them, and while many journalists and YouTube reviewers shame the iPhone for not making their screens bigger, the change didn't come because it wasn't in Apple's core philosophy. At the time, a bigger screen would not have made a better phone with the available technology. So to provide a solution, once they released the iPhone 5, the display was slightly bigger, and it was also easy to navigate with one hand. A detail its competitors left behind by making bigger and bigger screens without noticing how uncomfortably it was. However, that approach did not meet public demand, and they were selling 4-to-1 behind Android. People preferred the biggest display, regardless of whether they could hold it with one hand or not. So Apple faced two challenges: how to bring the largest screens to the market and how to create a low-cost phone. These were major challenges for one of the most expensive phones in the world with the smallest display available. Apple prepared for its big release, the iPhone 6, but they still had to wait for 2 more years without a debut. What they chose to do was to make a change in 2013 that started a new path towards being a $1 trillion company. They decided, for the first time, to release the iPhone 5S and 5C in 2013, offering more than one new model in the same year. These two models could fill the gap until one of the most sought-after iPhones was released to the market, the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, which cost nearly $700, were designed exclusively for the premium market. It was a really expensive phone, and it had a larger display of 5.5 inches. Apple finally released a model that would compete with flagship Android devices. People were all over the new Apple edition since that model got record-breaking numbers. 41% more than the 5S in the first quarter. So it was at that moment that Apple had discovered their niche. A niche that was looking for premium devices to not only buy a phone, but a statement. To not only download Android apps, but exclusive Apple apps. Customers weren't afraid to pay extra to join an exclusive club. Apple found its niche nearly a decade ago, making a trademark for what it means to have an iPhone and be an Apple user who never wants to compare itself to other devices. However, where there is also no comparison is our channel BusinessLoop. Please support us with your like and subscribe to get the most insane business history around. According to several Insight reports, the iPhone 13 Pro costs $570 to make, and its base price is around $999 to $1,500, a markup of over 75%. Apple has found the magic formula so that its niche is not only buying a bigger phone or the latest, most innovative technology, but that its users desire the exclusive feeling of being an iPhone owner. And for those who already have one, they can feel more welcome in their own world, made only by Apple. And it's clear that the new iPhone 14s are just a new addition with the same decade-old formula. A formula they have taken care to promote and a lifestyle they have been building for a long time. And with huge results. Apple's income went from $108 billion to $365 billion in the last 10 years, which is a huge jump, and its income went up by 33% in 2021 alone. The iPhone is Apple's most valuable product and has been the company's primary revenue source since 2008. Even while Apple has expanded its product lineup with the watch, AirPods, and services, 50% of its revenue still comes from the iPhone, and it won't stop anytime soon. If you want more interesting facts about Apple, check out why the iPhone is so expensive or the secret to Apple's $5 billion headquarters. This is Business Loop. Have an amazing day.